His corner, the best running backs of the last 2 decades. I'm Russell Clay. I'm a staff writer over at fantasyguru.com, and I think I have a great episode for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the best running backs of the last 2 decades. I think this is really valuable to look back at NFL history to see what we can project forward. I think there's a lot of valuable information in this episode today. If you feel the same, please give this video a like, and also I'd really appreciate you subscribing to the channel. As always, I hope you enjoy the video. Let's get into it. All right, so I was bored the other day and was trying to think of an idea for Clay's Corner, and I always think it's valuable to look at history, whether you find anything actionable for your current fantasy situation or not. Looking back at past careers, how things stacked up for prior generations of players and all that good stuff. And so I actually did find something pretty actionable here, something that I think if you followed any of my work for any period of time, you know I'm going to harp on this type of stuff constantly. But I looked at the top players, top running backs from a total yardage perspective over the last 2 decades. So since 2000 season, 31 running backs have accumulated 9,000 yards from scrimmage or more. And here's the draft round breakdown. So out of the 31 running backs to have 9,000 or more yards from scrimmage, 16 were first-round picks. So 51.6%, 52%. What does that tell us? We see every year undrafted players, late-round players emerge to produce good seasons. This year, Austin Eckler, we had Justin Forsett. We've had a ton of guys. Jordan Howard had some great years with the Bears. We've seen, Aaron Jones recently with the Packers. He's had some great years. However, when we're looking for long-term sustainability with players, and, obviously this can relate to dynasty, look at this. Of the 31, 16 were first-round picks, 8 were second-round picks. So second-round pick in the NFL draft, 25%. So together, that's 77% right there, right? So I think that's really important to know as we're coming into NFL draft season, as we're looking at, our rookie drafts for the 2022 offseason. This is really valuable information to know because there are going to be people who want to be fancy. They want to get, their takes in, and they're going to pick some late round guy to be, this is actually my RB1, some random guy. And what this is kind of telling us is, at least from, a long term, if we're truly looking for who's going to have the best NFL career out of this incoming crop of rookies, we know where they're coming from. So third round, 6 out of 31, 19%. So when you add that together, 51 plus 25 plus 19, I'm no mathematician, but 51 plus 19 is 70. And then you got 6 plus 4, that's 71. Plus 25, we got 97% here, So 97% of the most successful running backs in the last 2 decades have come from the top, 3 rounds of the NFL draft. And they all look very different, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go through some of these careers and just how different they can look. But what we do know is where almost all of them are going to come from are these top 3 rounds. We did have Priest Holmes, put together some monstrous years for the Chiefs in the early 2000s, but again, we're going to have some outliers for fantasy, especially year to year with running backs, but this is what I wanted you guys to see today. 97, 98%. 96 to 97% of the running backs that are going to be long-term producers are going to come from this area of the draft. 4th round, 0. 5th round, 0. 6th round, 0. 7th round, 0. So, we can like our Myles Gaskins. We can like our random producers. But, once we get into year 4, 5, 6, we know where this production is going to be coming from. So, and again, we can look at these names. I think it's valuable to put a face to the name. Frank Gore, LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson, Steven Jackson, really, really special guys. Frank Gore more from a volume accumulation standpoint, but all these guys were really special for a long period of time. Same thing with McCoy, Forte, James, Barber, Marshawn Lynch. I mean, these are all names we know. Thomas Jones, maybe not quite as well known, and I wanted to go to him first. Drafted top 10 pick, didn't really do much in his first 4 years. Look at that. Maybe a little Rashad Penny going on here with Thomas Jones. Really didn't emerge till his run with the Bears, where they made him a featured back for the first time in his career. Struggled with, a few things, mostly really bad teams on Arizona, but a guy to go back and look at, highly athletic, solid college running back that just couldn't get it going till his 3rd contract, really. So again, and then produced into his 30s. So, he was putting up 1,500, 1,400 yards from scrimmage into his 30s. So, some of these guys prime, in their early 20s. Most of the pie is going to be produced in their mid to late 20s, or I would say early to mid 20s. And then there's some of these random guys that don't really get going till, their 30s. So that's a good one to look at if you haven't. Tiki Barber, another one where didn't produce really until year 4 and then was just an absolute monster. And then retired at 31 after a 2,100 yards from scrimmage season. So, that's another guy to look at. Ironically, both Barber and Jones were out of Virginia, so I don't know what's in the water over there in Virginia for these running backs, but put together some really special prospects in the late 90s, early 2000s. So, again, 15,000 yards from scrimmage, but almost none of it came in his first 3 years. So that's kind of what I wanted to show you guys today. And then you have a guy like LaDainian Tomlinson. Look at this. Basically the opposite. Was absolutely dominant in his early 20s. From age 22 season on, getting around 400 touches per year for 6-7 years. Just an absolute monster. And then, once he got into 29, 30, 31, things really started to fall off for him. So, again, the talent is there, but the situation, the overall role has to line up for these guys. And, unfortunately, that only happens in certain parts of these careers. Have the offensive line, have the supporting cast, have the passing game, have the coaching to make these guys special, as well as, basically optimizing their talent. His rookie year, he was definitely not optimized. 3.6 yards per carry, had 1,600 yards from scrimmage, but on 398 touches. So that's basically de-optimized. And then we saw as Phillip Rivers came in, as, this offense got pumping, that's when things really turned for him. And then we have Frank Gore. Never the best guy in any era, but spanned, I would say, 3 or 4 running back generations. Because, people think of generations of players like it's NBA, where these guys are playing 20 years. From 2005 to 2010, Frank Gore was dealing with completely different running back landscapes. Same thing from 2010 to 2014, then this new era of running back in the 2015 to 2017 era. So this guy spanned like 5 generations and was a top 15 running back for what? 12 years. So that's kind of what we're looking at with Frank Gore. It was the longevity. But he never really crested 16. Well, he had that 1 year, second year with San Francisco. Kind of a very mediocre team, but he was really special. But beyond that, never really got above 1,500 again. Never really crested 1,600, but was a very solid and respectable player, but just stayed healthy and was worthy of being a starting running back for a long, long period of time. So that's kind of like the inverse of, say, a Sean Alexander, who was an absolute monster, one of the best running backs in the NFL, and then was completely gone. So again, 10,000 yards from scrimmage, but he did it in 5 years. He did it in 5 years, whereas Frank Gore did his stuff over about 17 years. So just a totally different career. But the point is, first round pick. Adrian Peterson, top 10 pick. Obviously, his career's been incredibly unique. Multiple major injuries, multiple times coming back from those major injuries, and just putting together monstrous campaigns. So, that's what we're looking at there. Then you have a guy like Warrick Dunn, who spent most of his career as a guy cresting 1,000 yards from scrimmage every year, but really was in committees for most of it. He thrived on efficiency. He thrived off speed. Really special guy, but was never a featured guy his entire career. He did have those couple seasons of high-end usage, but was mainly used as he's 180 pounds, So, again, special, but not used like, Warrick Dunn's a fascinating career. I might have to go back and look into him more, but yeah, you guys should too. Special guy. Jamal Charles, another one you can definitely go check out. Ezekiel Elliott, you can see. And lastly, Reggie Bush, by the time he was in Miami, he was a totally different player than his New Orleans career. He bulked up to the 220s, especially in Detroit as well. So, I think this is really fun stuff, going back and looking at these careers. But as far as today is concerned, I think the main point I want to get down is that you're going to be getting these guys in the top 3 rounds of the NFL draft. And beyond that, you'll get a year or two, and then they're going to fizzle out. So, that's mainly what I wanted to talk about today. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you found anything valuable or informative about this, or you think I helped you improve your fantasy football perspective, please give this video a like and also subscribe. I would really appreciate it. So for Russell Clay, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time.